Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm here with Jake. We want to talk to you a little bit about how to deal with umpires. Youth sports has been a growing trend in youth sports, bad behavior with coaches and fans and players. So just want to kind of give you a few things that you can do to improve the on-field experience. Jake has umpired a ton at all levels, from coach pitch on up, all the way to American Legion. I've coached, excuse me, I've umpired, maybe not to that extent, but I've umpired quite a bit for several years. So just a couple things I want to talk about: how coaches can help their relationships with umpires, how players can help, and things that parents can do. First of all, for coaches, communication is key. You want to, when you walk on the field, you want to be positive. You want to try to create a little bit of a connection with the umpire. Not saying you want to go crazy and talk a bunch and be chatting in between innings, things like that. That looks kind of bad, but you want to have open line of communication, be positive. If you have a problem with a call, ask time, go to the 45 and just ask questions. Don't, you never want to run onto the field, start yelling. You don't want to bark in between plays or after plays. You don't want to be doing that. You just kind of create this tension and make it rough. You just create this tension for the umpire. As far as balls and strikes go, you don't want to sit there and bark about balls and strikes constantly. I'll tell you an approach a coach used that I noticed several years ago that was very effective. He would tell his batter, like if there was a borderline pitch that I'd called a strike, especially early in the count, he would tell his batter, "Hey, that's a tough pitch to hit. It's a strike, but it's a tough pitch to hit." That kind of let me know, hey, that was kind of in between pitch. I'm not sure about that, but he was very respectful about it, and he was teaching his kids, to not question the umpire, not question everything that the umpire does. What have you seen something that, or has a coach said something that you're like, that's pretty good, that's effective?
Not specifically, like right off the top of my head, but going off one of your first points, I think it all starts from the very beginning at the plate meeting. You start with respect, and I think learning my name and learning the coach's name that can help build a relationship as well. Now, obviously, I don't want to abuse that
Mm-hmm.
and yell, "Come on, Jake," or "You're awful, Jake," or whatever. But like, "Hey, Jake, you need a water," whatever, anything, just using that, building that relationship from the start goes a long way with me, and I'm sure it's the same way for a lot of other people. And like you said, coming out to the 45, not running onto the field, uh, it's a big thing. It's all about the approach. Um, you can go about what different things in many different ways, but if you come at me more respectful, I'm more tuned to respond in a positive way than be a jerk or respond in a negative way.
And as a head coach, you are responsible for your whole team. And a lot of times you'll see um, players, assistant coaches, and fans kind of reflect what their head coach does. If the head coach is respectful, positive, does things the right way, usually his players, he holds them accountable, and the fans kind of follow suit. Another thing we've talked about this several times. We do not talk to assistant coaches. Like if you're an assistant, a head coach, you need to tell your assistant coaches, you don't need to be chirping, complaining. You don't need to be questioning calls. The head coach is the ultimate authority, and he's the one that we want to talk to.
Right. And that's something as you move up to the higher levels, they understand that. But at the lower levels, they really, I mean, anybody speaks for the team. There is no, I mean, at the higher levels, you are probably going to get a coach that comes out, approaches and questions the right way. But lower levels, they're probably just going to yell out from the dugout. You might have an assistant coach, fan, mom, whatever, that'll ask you questions. And half the time I just ignore,
Yeah.
especially if it's a fan.
Yeah.
But like you said, assistant coach, probably not even going to talk to them or answer any questions, most likely.
So with players, biggest thing to me, we talked about the head coach kind of controls everything. For me, as far as players, especially defensively, your pitcher and your catcher really dictate like the mood of the team. If you're a pitcher, good body language, don't question, if the umpire's strike zone is not what you want it, don't sit there and question it. Don't sit there and slump your shoulders. That's not going to help your cause. I can promise you. Catchers, this is one of the biggest misconceptions I see now. Catchers want to frame every pitch. If a pitch is that far outside, there is no reason to jerk it back in 3 or 4 baseballs. Nobody's going to call that a strike. Okay. So frame borderline pitches. When you frame those borderline pitches, you want to stick that thing. You don't want to sit there and hold it for 3, 4, 5 seconds. Okay. If I'm calling balls and strikes, you stick it and hold it and then get the ball back to the pitcher. I've seen it. If I'm not going to call it a strike, you sitting there holding it, holding it, holding it, that's not going to make me call it a strike. What's something maybe that you've seen that a player can do that you feel like helps or hurts their calls?
Catchers definitely like you said. If I see this, you're not going to get anything because that tells me that you have to move it 5 inches to the left. Your goal as a catcher should be to keep strikes and make pitches that are probably balls look as close to strikes as possible. And that's the best thing you can do is just like you said, just stick. And they've gotten pretty good with all the new technology and everybody's going to their pitching and catching coaches and you see different stuff, but like like I said, you want to keep strikes and make those borderline balls look like strikes.
And then finally, for fans, be respectful. Bad fan behavior, I can promise you, is never going to help your team. If you are sitting there
Realistically,
yelling,
any fan behavior is not going to help your team, like at all.
yeah,
I don't care.
you're
Nobody cares what you have to say, especially if you're just trying to bash everybody on the field, including your players and coaches and everything. Nobody wants to be around
and nobody expects you. Hey, good call, boy. Nobody expects. That's not reasonable. That's
that.
not what we're saying. But when you're sitting there screaming, I don't want to hear you're better than that. I don't want you. I know a lot of people in this area. I don't want you calling me by name, Jason. You're blowing it today. And the probably the biggest thing that gripes me or that bothers me, if you even remotely insinuate that I'm cheating your kids. I could look, my coaching days are over. My boys are grown. I had a great time coaching. Best memories of my life with them. Come on the ball field and things like that. But I couldn't care less who wins. I have no stake in the game in any game that I call. I'm not trying to influence the outcome. I want nobody to even know I was there. So don't insinuate that I'm cheating you or I'm calling it in favor of one team over the other. That's bottom line. I'm never going to tolerate that. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next time.